Hey, good morning. I am getting this stream set up on the Facebook group as well as Instagram. Let's get that figured out. Okay, okay. You guys know that my one of my 2024 New Year's resolutions is to just embrace the fact that I'm not that great at technology and I'm not going to be perfect at any of this. So, what we are going to do is we are going to go over our budget framework. So, for those of you that are in our Facebook group, it is called the Low Budget or Low Spend January. I'm going to put a link to it over in the chat since this is basically just a recording that's going to live in that group. And then if you would like to join us in that group, you are welcome to. And so that's it. I'm going to give you a little link to that group, and then we will get started shortly. Let's see. There it is. I don't think that's what I'm looking for. I appreciate your patience as I navigate how to use Facebook that I've been using for 20 years. You know, that's how it is. Mm-mm-mm. Okay, here is the group link. Chat. How do I get to chat? Y'all, it's kind of ridiculous how bad I am at this. Well, and apparently I cannot post comments. Well, so we're just going to move through this. So this is going to take maybe 20 minutes or so. And again, you can come back and watch it later. Our primary goal for this month, if you are in the low spend Facebook group, is really just to be mindful about our spending and to start making little steps towards aligning our vision with our values and our time and treasure. So with that, those of you who are my client know that I am a huge fan of this book, The Psychology of Money, and I quote it constantly. This is like, I don't know, probably on the first or second page of the book. And essentially, it's that we each think about money in different ways. And even though our experiences are just a tiny, tiny bit of the world's experiences, we just come at this with different perspectives. And that's okay. This is a little bit about me. A lot of you guys know me pretty well. I'm a financial planner. I am the founder and owner of Real Wealth Planning. If you are our client or on our email list or just know me, you know that we are transitioning from Real Estate Wealth Planning as the firm name to Real Wealth Planning. We're not actually changing anything else. So we are still fee only, fiduciaries, flat fee, all of that. We're still working with a lot of real estate professionals. We are just also making it more clear that we work with people other than real estate professionals. And we really are putting an emphasis on the life planning part of financial planning, since that's the part that gets me up every day. So this is what we are focused on today. We are focused on aligning your vision and your values with your time and your treasure. And what I have found is that my clients and friends and family that keep their expectations in line with their resources are infinitely happier and have better financial outcomes than those that make a ton of money, but then spend a ton of money. So let's talk about wealth. This is why we have switched our firm name, is really to focus on wealth as a concept and not a number. I believe that wealth is not a number. I believe that being rich is not the same thing as being wealthy. Neither are bad, they're just different. Wealth is the ability to wake up each morning and spend your time the ways that bring you joy and fulfillment. So, most people get rich or wealthy slowly. Some people manage to get very lucky or be in the right place at the right time and get some wealth in a concentrated fashion. Maybe you have an inheritance, or you had a great year in business, or maybe you're just lucky to be in the right place at the right time. Whatever it was, congratulations. If you do get this concentrated source of wealth, the hard part is getting wealthy and staying wealthy are two really different things. It's can be a lot easier to get wealthy actually than stay wealthy. I'm sure we've all heard stories of people who, got a bunch of money and then kind of ran through it. So to stay wealthy, generally you need to be diversify that source of wealth, and then you also need to be probably a little bit paranoid around maintaining that wealth. And one of the best ways to do that is by focusing on your fixed expenses. What I have noticed from most clients that overspend is that they're not necessarily overspending on the little stuff, the lattes and whatever. That can be a byproduct of overspending on your fixed expenses. But typically, fixed expenses, the big expenses that run our lives, are the ones that determine what our life looks like and how we have to spend our time. And we can really only make big leaps towards our financial goals when our fixed expenses are lower. So that's what the rest of this presentation is going to be about. It's about the way that we think about our budget practice, because what we have noticed is that virtually every single person, except for a small subset of engineers or people that are just really into numbers, most people have a ton of trouble, including me, categorizing their expenses every month and saying, okay, I spend this much on dining out and I spend this much on childcare. It's typically just a lot easier for our brains to think about two kind of bigger buckets of expenses. And I like to think about that as fixed and flex. I was really fortunate to go to a phenomenal professional development for financial planners like me that taught me this. So I cannot take credit for the initial genesis of this idea, but we have rolled it out with a lot of clients and it's been really successful. So when we say fixed expenses, the only thing that defines a fixed expense is that you have already made the decision. And it is basically happening every month, and it's about the same amount every month. So if you have loan payments, those are fixed expenses. Childcare, specifically like daycare costs, or if you have tuition, education, that costs the same roughly every month or every year. PITI means principal, interest, taxes, and insurance on your housing. Insurance, all the other kinds of insurance. Predictable medical expenses like, the same prescriptions every month, or your healthcare insurance or something like that. Bills and utilities, subscriptions, and other home services. I think my video is covering that last little bit. Subscriptions means everything from like Gold's Gym, the YMCA, Netflix, whatever, anything that is happening really without you making a decision about it every month. So we want to add all that up. And that is your fixed bucket. Then your flex bucket is everything that you just make decisions about every single day. Swiping, tapping, clicking. So this means getting a babysitter, sending kids to camp. I have 3 kids, so I think a lot about that. Buying lattes, dinners, massages, shopping, gasoline, everything, even one-off expenses that you're not necessarily making a decision about, but you are still having to pay for on a flexible basis. So, for example, a copay at a doctor. That's not a fixed expense because you're not doing it the same every month typically. It is a flex expense. So flex is mostly discretionary, but there are non-discretionary in there like groceries. So fix and flex. Then if you have a business, we have a lot of clients in the real estate industry. And if that is you, then I do also want you to think about your business expenses in terms of fixed and flex. If you are a realtor, then typically those business expenses are your desk fees, any other licensing fees. If you have staff that you consistently pay, insurance, phone, basic stuff that if you were to stop doing business for 6 months, you're still paying those things. That's the definition of a fixed expense in business. And that applies to any business. Whereas flex is anything that you are actively deciding to spend money in your business on. It's a lot of marketing, dinners with clients, anything like that is a flex expense. So that if you did actually stop doing business for 6 months or a year, you're not paying for those things. So that's the difference. All right, so how do you actually set this up for yourself in your life? Personally, you probably have a primary checking account. This is where you should deposit all of your income, your family's income. So if you have 2 earners or multiple sources of income, try to get it all deposited into the same account. Now, if you have a spouse and you haven't mixed your income before, that's kind of a longer conversation. I would highly suggest thinking about it, but that's a separate conversation. So you put all your income into your checking, and then all of your fixed expenses come out of that account. So what that means is you have it on auto pay, everything fixed. So the tweak that you probably need to make is if you have Netflix or Gold's Gym or whatever on a credit card, switch it over to that checking account so that everything that's fixed, no matter what, is happening from that one source, that checking account. Then have either a second checking account with a debit card or a credit card, ideally one. A lot of people end up having 2 for various reasons that their household needs. But ideally 1. So if you have a spouse, then you and your spouse have the same credit card. Maybe it's the Citi Double Cash card or whatever card it is. You both have an authorized user card on it. And then everything that you are actively swiping, tapping, clicking goes on that card. And then every week, pick a day, Friday tends to work, you pay it off. That doesn't have anything to do with your credit score or like anything like that. It's literally just so you're looking at the expenses every week and thinking about them and reflecting on them and deciding if you want to keep making similar expenses. So pay it off every week from that primary checking account. Now, the bottom 2 buckets are a little more advanced. I would say the top 2 buckets are kind of table stakes, bottom 2 advanced. So non-monthly savings accounts. So if you have annual expenses that are kind of large, so for example, maybe you've got a once-a-year insurance that costs $2,400. If that once-a-year insurance comes out in December, then have a separate savings account that every month you take $200 from your primary checking and you put it into that insurance savings account. And then at the end of the year, you pay that one annual bill. Travel. So let's say you have a travel budget that you are that you want to go on with yourself or your family every year. If you want to have a $6,000 travel budget, then that means you put $500 a month from your primary checking into that travel budget bucket. And then when you're actually traveling, you know approximately how much money you have to spend. If you're buying one-off relatively expensive things, like say the cruise tickets or airline tickets or hotels or whatever, go ahead and just pay for that on your credit card. It could be a second credit card or the same one that you're using, and then just immediately pay it off out of that savings account that you have set up. So typically people only have a handful of non-monthly large expenses each year. It's generally in the buckets of fun and not fun. So like not fun would be insurance and taxes. Maybe you pay your property taxes out of your checking account every year. Fun would be, hobbies, travel, etc. All right. If you run a business, then, and you know me, you know that I suggest that you have a profit savings account and a taxes savings account. That whenever you earn money in your business, you put a fixed percentage into. A lot of my clients, we put 10% into profit and 20% into taxes. Those are just rules of thumb. Every single person is different based on the actual amount of money that you earn and your spouse earns and all of the other things going on in your life. But those are just extra savings accounts that would be tied to your business if you happen to have a business. And if you don't, then you can ignore all that. So if you do have a business, this is how we set it up. We've got your operating expense, OpEx checking account. This is where all that business income goes into. And then you take out all those fixed and non-discretionary expenses. So again, that's insurance, phone, licensing fees, all of that kind of thing. Your business credit card, same thing. Everything you swipe, tap, and click, and then pay it off each week. Profit savings, again, that 10% number is just a rule of thumb. It depends on the industry. With real estate, that tends to be a pretty good number. With taxes, 20% tends to be a good number, but not always. Some people that's way too high, and some people that's too low. So you do have to talk with us or your tax professional about that. Profit savings, let me also add that each of these buckets are meant for you to be taking all the money out of them every quarter. So for profit, you're putting this money into it, and it's really just so that you as the business owner are paying yourself a bonus every quarter. So at the end of the quarter, you're going to take the money out and do whatever you want to do with it. Maybe it's moving towards a saving goal. Maybe it's paying for kids' tuition. Maybe it's travel. Maybe it's just living your life. What I don't want you to do with that is put money into taxes from that profit or reinvest that profit into your business, because you should be running your business based on the rest of the money that you're making. Taxes, again, if you were on a quarterly estimated taxes situation, then you would use that money to pay your quarterly taxes. But again, consult with your tax professional about the exact numbers. So here's some really simple math. I'm going to move my video over so this is a little clearer. So you take all your income, you take your big fixed expenses, then you subtract your flex expenses, then you subtract your non-monthlies, and that is the money that you have to save towards your goals. So if your fixed expenses are too high, you're not going to have the money to save towards your goals, which makes everybody sad. So that's it on the budget. While I have you, I'm going to go over what financial life planning is that we do at Real Wealth Planning in case it is applicable to you. So what financial life planning is building a financial plan, a technical numbers-based financial plan, just like any other financial advisor, financial planner, investment manager. That's what we do. We do all those things. But before we give you any recommendations on what to do with your money, we want to know what you value, what you believe in, and how you want to spend your time, both now and in the future, because we are not just looking towards retirement. We know that a lot of people don't want to just quit working at 65 or 67 and then, call it a day. Some people do. But some people want to keep, themselves active, or they, want to do something else, or they want to make sure that they're not over saving for retirement, at the detriment of their growing years, the years when their kids are young or when they've got more energy. And so we spend a lot of time up front, digging really deep into these things. So we spend the first part of financial planning is about 3 to 6 months, and we do 4 or 5 meetings. It's a fixed flat fee depending on the complexity of the client. It's typically a few $1,000s. And then at the end of that first phase, you get a financial plan and you can say, okay, cool, this is great. I'm going to go do that on my own. Or you may become an ongoing financial planning client. During the first phase, we will have touched on the vast majority of these topics that apply to you. So goals, budget, education, income taxes, estate planning, etc. So we will have given you some recommendations around all of these topics. But then ongoing financial planning is actually digging in, managing the tasks, and getting things in order. And so that is what I call phase 2, where we go and we actually talk through each of those topics in depth. You get some education. We'll help you kind of manage the process of working through them, and then help you get them all set up. So this is an example of what parts of what a financial plan looks like. So some of the software that we use and that we spend a lot of time in. So we're going to give you kind of like a snapshot of, what things look like for you. We'll look at your retirement analysis. We'll look at the levers you can pull. Spoiler alert, the success of your retirement is completely dependent on your income, your savings, and the age that you retire. There's a lot of other factors that go into that, but those are the big ones. And usually the biggest one that you can impact is your savings, and the amount of money that you spend relative to the amount of money that you earn. A lot of other things you just don't have control over, even if you are a business owner. You can't control the real estate cycle, the business cycle. If you get laid off, whatever, you can't control that stuff, but you can control your spending to an extent. So who is financial planning for? So comprehensive financial planning is only effective when the client, and if it's a couple, it has to be both people actually want to engage in this process. You have to be motivated to spend your time building and living a life that's meaningful to you. I will tell you, anytime, 100% of the time, when I get someone coming to me and they just want a number answer, like they are like, what do I do with this house? Or, what should I invest in this account? They don't want to build a meaningful life. They just want an answer. And there are a lot of financial planners for whom they will just get that answer right off the bat, and then they'll just, call it a day. I have found that if I just give you that answer, it's not actually going to help you build the life that you want to have. So I know those answers and we can share them with you, but we have to first know about your vision and your values before we can give you those answers. Because if we just give you the answer, then it's not necessarily going to create a lasting impact on your life. So of course you have to be open to learning. If you're in a situation that you're, is a little tenuous, you don't want to have to kick the can down the road anymore. So that's who we work with. We work with a lot of real estate professionals, but also just folks who are thinking about retiring, people who inherited money, people who earn a lot but spend a lot, anybody like that. So this is the one thing, I mentioned it at the very beginning, that it's my only silver bullet. I don't really have any silver bullets other than, if someone rains money on you. This book, everyone I know that has actually read the entire thing gets something great out of it. And their mindset shifts and their financial plans are so much easier to implement. And you have a life that is more meaningful to you. So it's the only silver bullet I've got. So if you haven't read it, I suggest you do. If you have questions, reach out. Like we said, we're kind of transitioning the name over the next few months, the website over the next few months. And so all of those emails and phone numbers still work. They will continue to work. But if you have questions, we would love to take them. Or if you just want to join the Facebook group, feel free. And with that, I will say these slides actually are in the Facebook group. So if you are not in it, then join it. And if you go to the files, media, or whatever section, it will be there. And if you have other questions, let us know. All right. See you another day.